to present F Norway to the World Fair Trade Organizations and in your chapters across Asia. We've actually done feasibility studies with Fair Trade Foundation in India, and they have a Bangladeshi partner, while we've also a Nepali chapter of the Fair Trade Organizations who are actively looking for a partner and starting to do their feasibility studies. So FAIR is definitely a realm that FK Norway engages in, and we'd be very happy to consider additional. So from what I'm going to do for this call is just give an overview of the program, and then hopefully we have some time where I can take some questions. I have to jump off for another call that's at 3 p.m., but my colleague Moritz will be online as well if there are some substantial questions. Okay, so I'll just jump right on in Norway program. So FK Norway is a government agency. Norway is to instigate international exchange between partner organizations across the world. And so obviously they'll do an exchange with Norway and a number of southern countries. For where I represent, we're the FK Norway Asia representatives, 7 countries across Asia, which include Bangladesh, Nepal, Myanmar, Vietnam, and China. Then we have about 14 countries in Africa that we work with. And what I can do, and what I'll chat into the into this function are some of these other countries, and I think we have 4 countries in Latin America. So before further explaining, the exchange programs must be international, and that is between organizations, so partner organizations. So what does that really mean? And so FK Norway is in 4 streams, where for fair trade organizations, you would fit most likely into either the private sector development stream that's aimed at promoting income generation activities, sustainable businesses, entrepreneurship, innovation, and helping businesses be able to grow naturally. We also, but this work is focused on vocational training. So if you do work with community groups or with companies themselves to do skills training, that might also be where you could engage. And then we work in primary health, exchanges across primary health initiatives, and also in civil society, working on advocacy, human rights, and a variety of other civil society initiatives. But in our civil society exchange, that's strictly for the volunteer program, and focused on leadership and really society leaders. Now, as I said, civil society is focused on volunteering. I'll jump into the part of the types of exchanges we do, because we do a volunteer exchange and a professional exchange. And each organization and each partnership can decide on their own which type of participants they'd like to join, whether they're professionals or volunteers. They're quite similar in their function, but obviously there's a difference within the salary provided, as well as the capacities and the expectations of the achievements during an exchange program. So in the volunteer programs, a typical exchange period would be 3 to 10 months, where the person that goes on exchange receives approximately $1 per month. Their housing is, they receive a housing stipend insurance, international travel is paid for. There's some budget for either English language or local language training, and a smaller administrative budget available for the partner organizations that engage. For the professional exchange program, what we typically like to do is build a longer term relationship with the partner organization. And so typically it's a 3 rounds of exchange program. And so one round typically lasts for 1 year, but there is a broad range of 6 months to 18 months per exchange round. So for example, say you had a partnership between Cambodia, Vietnam, and China. During the first year of exchange, maybe the Vietnamese participant goes to China to live and work for 1 year. The Chinese participant goes to Cambodia to live and work for that year. And then the Cambodian goes to Vietnam to live and work for the 1 year. After that year of exchange, each of these participants would come back to their home organization to be able to utilize the SCARN while working abroad. And then a new person would go on exchange, but typically you would switch the country. So maybe the Vietnamese person goes to Cambodia, Cambodia to China, China to Vietnam. And then the same thing, they come back at the end of that year, and then the third year someone else goes again. In the professional program, they receive a salary of between $800 to $1,200 per month, depending on which country that they go to. And these people should have some skills and capacities where they'll be able to, really contribute to the overall program. So it's a little bit more than just gaining experience, some international connectivity, learning culture. This is supposed to be on a technical basis of where they can work to achieve project goals. And so everything of insurance, housing, international travel, training as well. Now for the volunteer program, we have an age range where participants are allowed to be the age between 18 and 35, while the minimum age for the professional program is 22 and the maximum is 35 years old as well. And FK Norway is set in their standards for age of people that go on exchange. So obviously if they're too young, there's some risk that they wouldn't be as mature or able to engage as effectively as desired, while they tap it off at the 35 years of age to be able to give younger people some experience and some opportunity to live and work abroad, whether they can then use that experience for their life development and their career development going forward. And that's the basics of the program. So the way to be able to engage, so each organization, to be able to apply, you need to have a minimum of 5 employees. You need to be committed to the program. FK Norway does have some administrative procedures and some reporting. And then FK Norway does provide an administrative budget annually. And you need to be able to cooperate with your partners. And so the way that an exchange program is managed is through what we call a coordinating part. So if we use the China, Vietnam, and Cambodia example again, maybe Vietnam wants to be the coordinating partner, which means that would be the managing partner. And so Vietnam would then be responsible for working with the other partners to develop your feasibility study. They'd be responsible for receiving the partnership itself and then being able to disperse those funds to each of the partners, coordinating and kind of corralling the inputs for the financial reporting and annual reporting, and being the primary contact with FK Norway staff. And then for FK Norway, so obviously with your organization and with various chapters across Asia, you obviously have your potential partners here on the call or within your network. And so the typically the most challenging part to engaging our feasibility, which I'll talk about in a minute, is finding your partners. But luckily for you, you have a strong network and partners available. So you could work through either your fair trade organizations directly, or you might want to work with other NGOs or other even companies within your to be able to achieve the initiatives you're looking in. And so we've accepted a vast a wide range and diversity of different projects. So we definitely appreciate a range of initiatives and things you can engage on. We appreciate creativity or your directness. Feasibility study, and that's the program application, which is actually not a very difficult document, where you give your organizational profiles, how you know your partners, and how you cooperate together. And then the main points are your expected outcomes for the program. And these outcomes should be, if you're doing a professional, this should be your outcomes over the 3-year period of time. So things that you really want to institute. So, maybe for you it'd be informing a wider range of companies and organizations on the benefits of being fair trade, or educating X number of companies on how to do fair trade certification, or extending fair trade marketing and reach across X geographies. Something like this, more wider long-term goals and initiatives. For the activities, your activities are the specific points that you will under to be able to achieve your objectives, your goals. And then for that feasibility study, the way that we typically go about it, if you do have your partners together in an understanding, what we do is we ask you to put a draft feasibility study together. And again, I'll send you, I can get these, I'm going to send the link here to you in this chat icon. And it's called the feasibility station. And it's pretty simple. And you can work on it together. And we should be in close communications with your partners as you are to develop your program together. And then, of course, you will be exchanging with each other. And what Moritz and I are here to do, we're based in Jakarta, so we're here in Asia time, is we will help facilitate your feasibility studies. So we ask you to put together a draft. And then we'll go through it with edits and comments and send it back to you with inputs. And so usually it's a couple rounds of edits and comments to get an approvable feasibility study together, which we would then further submit to FA for their final approval stamp. So through our process, most feasibility studies we submit have been approved. Although we cannot guarantee approved feasibility studies, as this depends on the portfolio FA is currently managing, funds that are available, and the types of projects that they want to contract. Once the feasibility study is approved, what we'll do is we run a seminar that's 3 days of meetings called the FK Introduction, where we bring you and your partners together, either in or one of the other Asia countries, to really discuss to build out your program for the next 3 years, if it's a professional program, or for your learn about the FK Norway administrative procedures and the standards and their overall methodology for the exchange program. Once that FK introduction is finished, you just need to do your final program for the three, your kind of like your itinerary and agenda for the exchange program. Submit that, and once approved, there's the FK Norway participants would go to, and that would commence the exchange program. So that's FK Norway and how to apply in 20 minutes. So I know it'd be a lot of information, but I'd be happy to take questions and answers for the next 10 minutes or so if you have them.
And I think you have to type them.
Yep, I'll be able to read them. That's no problem. So for deadlines, Philip, there are no real deadlines. But the sooner you apply, the sooner you program. So we accept feasibility studies on a rolling basis. And being that it usually takes a few iterations to complete a feasibility study, we do recommend you get them to us as soon as possible so we can provide you the comments. You can make your adjustments, and then we could submit sooner rather than later. And here in the box below, I'm sending another link, which are the countries that include Asia, Africa, and Latin America. So you could have an exchange program with Latin America or Africa if you so like, and those are the countries that you could cooperate with. Yeah, for language, this has been an issue, but we typically have been able to work through it. Again, there's some budget available either for local languages or for English language training. And then some other countries have harmony within their local languages or with English. So like India, Nepal, and Bangladesh, Hindi is able to be used amongst a number of those countries relatively easily. But for China, Vietnam, and Cambodia, it's been a little. Um, and so it really just depends. It depends on your staff, and it depends on your organization. Um, what we can also do, so that's a good question here. Uh, so FNRE expects both sending and receiving staff from both organizations. But for your organization, you do not necessarily have to use your own staff. You can recruit from outside your organization. So maybe you have some local companies you operate with, or members, or that you work with, and you can use their staff to go on exchange. You to consider how that person going on exchange will continue to develop your organization and help your initiatives. The starting date of the program depends on the partners involved when you submit your application. So of course, I mean the program cannot start until all the applications are complete, and then it would be a discussion amongst your partnership um, when you could effectively start the program. A basic understanding of English would make it easiest for people to engage. We've had people with no English language, it would be pretty difficult for someone to go live and work in another country for a longer time. I mean, so if say there's a Cambodian that has exchange with China, but they speak Mandarin very well, that could be possible, and that could work out. But a Cambodian that goes to China with no English and no Mandarin, um, it would be quite challenging and probably wouldn't work very well. Partnership needs to be a minimum of 2 organizations together, and you could have a maximum of 4 organizations in different countries working together. But for one organization cannot engage in multiple exchanges. So FK Norway covers everything to do with the exchange program. So FK pay for the salary, the travel, the housing, all those things are paid for by FK Norway. For people that go on exchange, the only thing is that people pay for their own domestic travel and food and regular expenses a person does anywhere on Earth. So the people you send from your organization will be paid, and the people you receive will be paid, not by your own organizations, but by FK Norway. And so this is really an opportunity to gain experience from abroad while having your staff be abroad. It relieves a bit of your budgetary burden, so you might be able to hire another staff with that budget freed up while gaining this experience. Yeah, and so I apologize, but I need to jump off for another call. Here's my email below. I'm typing it here for all of you. So if you have other questions, contact me via email, and I'd be happy to answer more questions. I do think you have a great opportunity to engage an FK Norway exchange program, and we'd be happy to facilitate you through the feasibility study program and help you get on board.
Thank you, Daniel. That's really, really, really kind of you, and it's really interesting. We will take this on. It's sad that Thailand can't be involved in this, but it doesn't mean to say that we can't help and facilitate making this happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, they just got they came off the mandate 2 years ago. So it's just even though I'm based in Indonesia, Indonesia was pulled from the mandate as well, and so we lost a couple of middle-income countries and countries that didn't have many partnerships active, as every government agency has budgetary concerns. But with your World Fair trade organizations and your networks, I'm happy to see that you do indeed work with a number of other countries, and we'd be very happy to bring you on and see what kind of projects you come up with.
Yeah, great. And I think what we'll do is we'll brainstorm around what area you mentioned that we have areas like campaign forming a wider area. So those areas we need to look at what we can practically look at, and once we have an idea, back to you again.
Yeah, sounds good. And again, if you have questions, just let me know and happy to help out. And then my colleague Moritz, he's always happy to talk and discuss ideas as well. And so both of us here, we're happy to work with you to bring you onto the program.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Daniel.
You're welcome. Have a great afternoon, and I look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Okay. Bye then.
Cheers. Bye-bye.